Good evening. It is 6 o'clock on November 25th. And unless there's an objection, I call this meeting to order. Seeing no objection, the meeting is called to order. Councilman Lambert, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
Please stand as you're able. At this meeting, help us to make decisions which keep us faithful to our mission and reflect our values. Give us strength to hold to our purposes, wisdom to guide us, and a keen perception to lead us. And above all, keep us charitable as we deliberate. And before we do the pledge tonight, I'm going to request Paul Leonhardt. Could you come to the podium, please? For those that don't know Paul is our city, he's a Deputy Community Development Director. And this past weekend, he officially became a U.S. citizen. So congratulations, Paul.
Thank you, Councilman.
And we thought it would be very appropriate for our newest U.S. citizen to lead us in the pledge tonight.
You're putting me on the spot.
No pressure at all.
But with pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Congratulations. Very nice. All right, if it's okay with council, we're going to move 2-1. Is anybody objecting? Okay, good. All right, Chief, you're on.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Well, that was a great time what you did there with Paul. I was talking to him earlier, so congratulations, Paul. All right, this time I'd like to call up Crime and Intelligence Analyst Casey Lowe and Officer Will Smith. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start with Officer Will Smith. He is our third quarter winner. And during the third quarter, Officer Will Smith has worked for both his specialized unit and the Uniform Patrol Division simultaneously to fill a void resulting from a lack of manpower. Despite his dual roles, Officer Smith has exceeded the requirements of his specialized unit and routine patrol duty by working directly with CID to locate and apprehend multiple outstanding suspects who have committed various crimes of diverse severity, from property crime to crimes against persons. Specifically, he has utilized in-depth knowledge and skills from frequent use of the Flock license plate reader and its hot list function. A hot list function is if we have a suspect vehicle, we can label it in our system. So when the car comes through here, we can focus in on it and identify if they are potential suspects. Officer Smith has continued using these skills throughout the year and into the third quarter. He has displayed a high level of proactivity without ever being asked. This includes taking note of department-issued wanted person BOLOs, which is be on the lookouts, and directly inquiring how he can assist with investigations of persons, vehicles who have otherwise not been listed due to the sensitivity of such investigations. Through his proactivity, Officer Smith has demonstrated impressive investigative abilities while being a respectable team player who cooperates with other units and outside agencies. Officer Will Smith, he is one of our two step officers, and he is the one responsible that also does our serious injury and fatality accident investigations, and he's doing a phenomenal job. Are you finished Recon 5 yet? Okay, so the way that works is you have on-scene level 1, on-scene level 2, reconstruction 1, 2, 3, and 4, and he's about to finish his 5th one. So he can take an accident from start to finish and determine the cause of it. It's not an easy course. I also want to commend him for that. But this is the officer of the third quarter, Will Smith. All right. So this is our civilian employee of the third quarter, Crime and Intelligence Analyst Casey Lowe. Crime Analyst Casey Lowe's dedication, hard work, and significant contributions consistently exceed her duties. She manages her time and stress effectively while ensuring her coworkers and our department operate at the highest possible standards. During the third quarter, Casey was a critical player in establishing and managing our newly operational real-time crime center, overseeing essential tasks, developing schedules, ensuring proper coverage, and resolving issues with the developers. Her demonstrated leadership during Hurricane Helene, where she efficiently operated the RTCC, provided real-time information to officers and city officials while helping to keep our social media platforms updated, further exemplifies her commitment. Additionally, during the third quarter, Casey received a commendation from the International Association of Law Enforcement Intelligence Analysts for her commitment and contributions towards fostering safer communities and building more effective law enforcement partnerships. Her dedication to both the Criminal Investigations Division and the RTCC, along with her tireless efforts towards investigations and crime pattern analysis, only highlights her value to our department. And honestly, I think you can ask any of our investigators, even from me, all the way down to the investigators, that they couldn't do their job without Casey Lowe. She does an outstanding job, and I really want to commend her work with the Real-Time Crime Center. She has really stepped up. She has learned it. She has deployed it, and we've used it in real-time situations. So she's done a fantastic job, and both of these two are well deserving of their third quarter Employee of the Quarter. So I would like to present Casey Lowe with her plaque. All right. And you want to put this right? Mayor, I would respectfully request if you went to open comments. Yeah, he's a new transfer from Florida. I don't think he's figured out our traffic yet.
And apparently there was a bomb threat on 7585 earlier. So I think that they had to stop all the cars, and it's a whole thing. All right, we're going to go to public comment then, unless there's an objection, and we'll come back to the swearing in when everyone's available. Is that okay? Seeing no one objecting, we're going to public comments. Joe Hirsch. Approach the microphone and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, Joe Hirsch. As y'all know, of course, I have a lawsuit pending against the city of Dunwoody, which originated just regarding some missing text messages that the city did not provide to me. But the lawsuit has expanded and grown significantly, identifying all the practices that the city of Dunwoody fails to do properly, such as the state of Georgia requires you, city of Dunwoody, to have a records management plan. And that has 3 components in it, one of which is the provision for the security and maintenance of records. It's required by law that the city of Dunwoody have a plan for security and maintenance of records. The city does not have one. And our city clerk has admitted it, that y'all are not following state law. That's a problem. Also, when we incorporated about 15 years ago, the city passed an ordinance saying that the city of Dunwoody copied the state's records management plan. Here's what's interesting. The state doesn't have one. So the city passed an ordinance saying we were copying the state's plan, but it doesn't exist. That's a problem. So Sharon admits that the city does not have that either. A records management plan would answer such questions as, who can destroy records and how is it supervised? There is no plan for that. How do you know what you can destroy? Who supervises you when you just destroy it? No clue. That's part of my lawsuit as well. The city should also have a records inventory. It's not required by law, but it's a best practice, a phrase y'all like to use. So for instance, hopefully Sharon distributed to y'all today, I passed out a packet with all my demands in my lawsuit. It's a big piece of paper. If someone does an open records request tomorrow asking, can I have a copy of this demand letter that Joe Hirsch submitted to the city council? How would you know that you have it? There's no way to know. The city doesn't have a plan for those important pieces of paper. It's not uploaded, it's not scanned. There's no way of knowing what the city has. I say I have less than a minute, so I'll try and talk quickly. As you know, 3 years ago, I've been fighting the city trying to get text messages. And repeatedly, the city, including Sharon and Eric Shealy, have said those records don't exist. Would it surprise you that 10 days ago, the city found those text messages after 3 years? Yeah. How did you not know that you had those text messages? I'm not going to say incompetence, but I'm going to say there's no record plan. There's dishonesty. There's a lot of problems with the city. And hopefully y'all will listen to my demands, and I'm trying to help the city. What kind of city do you want to be? Do you want to be known as transparent? Or do you want to be someone that fights being transparent and doing all the wrong things? Because it won't stop with me. There'll be others that come after me as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet Glass. Approach the microphone and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening.
Yeah, you can lower it. Yeah,
Thank you.
there you go.
I'm Janet Glass, co-president of the Dunwoody Police Foundation. I think most of you know me. I just want to thank you for cooperating and supporting our organization, which is solely operating for the good of our wonderful police department. Thank you for taking the time and having the courage to go forward with the change in the code and the charter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. John Fisher. Approach the microphone and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, John Fisher. Just wanted to thank all of the council again for taking up this action with the charter and helping us keep these officers on par with other districts and other communities and police departments so that they can be compensated the same way in case anyone ever gets injured. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. And Mayor Shortall. Welcome back.
The other guy here? Is the other guy here? Oh, the fourth guy.
Okay.
I didn't wait till anybody's time. Yeah, I'm Denny Shortall. I live the 2011 Woodland Way. Just a couple things, I want to talk about. I hear a lot in the paper here, local things about money. And here's a little article in today in the paper, AJC. Georgia's rainy day funds reserve 16.5 billion. Years ago, we started here when John, we kicked it around and we got a 4-month reserve. There's two sides of the balance sheet: expenses, revenues. And one of the things we always said, we would have a staff adequate to serve the citizens of the city of Georgia. And make sure that, we don't need to inflate that. It happens in most cities. So be very careful when you start to hire people that are deputies, chief, et cetera, of certain department heads, whether we really need that or we don't need that, and we can function without it. So remember, rainy day funds are mandatory. We got a 4-month operational reserve. I know we still got that, but let's make sure we keep it and make sure we don't flood that with expenses on the other side of the ledger, because that's what's going to hurt us. And all of you, last thing, thank you for serving. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Shortall. That concludes the cards I have for public comment. There'll be another session at the end of the meeting if anyone is still here. Are we ready? Okay, you'll come up and do your thing.
Before we come up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Once again, thank you for adjusting your schedule for these officers to get sworn in. Okay, well, standing before you are four new hires that we got. There's more coming. So, and I'm proud to say that because the administrative staff here is working so hard to get qualified applicants through the door so we can get them out on the streets. So right now we are at 4 openings. We have approximately 5 sworn applicants in the background, and it's looking better. So that was my goal, taking over as chief, is to get us up to being fully staffed. So we're heading that direction. Okay, the first gentleman to my right is Officer Jason Holcomb. Jason is joining us from Powder Springs Police Department, where he was serving as a captain. His prior law enforcement experience includes employment with Gilmer County Sheriff's Office, Woodstock, Cherokee County, Rome, and the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. He joined our team on November 12th, 2024, and is bringing a wealth of knowledge to the streets. Next to him is James Harding. Officer Harding was most recently employed as a front desk sales agent at Work Out Anytime. He is a United States Marine Corps veteran. Hoorah. And James joined our team on August 6th, 2024, and he graduated last week from the academy. And he was one of the high shooters, but not the high shooter. Okay. Just want to throw that out there, you know, so. But welcome, Officer Harding. Next to him is Collis Akoff. Officer Akoff came to us from the Harahan Police Department in Louisiana. Prior to that, he was a police officer for Kenner Police Department in Louisiana. Collis is a United States Army veteran and holds an associate degree from Wallace State Community College. He is currently enrolled at Columbia State University working on his bachelor's degree. Collis joined our team on October 8th, 2024. And the latecomer, Officer Jerome Mendoza. I was explaining to the council, Jerome, that you're from Florida. You're not used to this Atlanta traffic yet. So, so Jerome, Officer Mendoza came to us from the Coral Springs Police Department, where he served as a police officer since February 2023. His previous work history includes positions in real estate, education, and personal fitness. Jerome holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science from the University of Buffalo, the State University of New York. Jerome joined our team on October 21st, 2024. And at this time, Mayor, if you would like to come down so we can swear them in. All right, you will.
You're gonna help us, Jennifer, a little bit? Okay, I'm good. Okay. Okay. All right, if you could raise your right hand, please. On my honor, I say your names. Do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America,
And the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Georgia,
Constitution of the State of Georgia,
and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Dunwoody, Georgia.
and the Charter of the City of Dunwoody, Georgia.
I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money
Not the holder of any unaccounted for public money
due to this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof.
to this state or any public subdivision of authority.
I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States
Not the office of trust under the government of the United States.
any other state or any foreign state which I am,
Any other state or any foreign state which I am.
by the laws of the state of Georgia,
By the laws of the state of Georgia.
prohibited from holding. I am otherwise qualified to hold the office of a peace officer according to the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia.
The Constitution and the laws of the state of Georgia.
I will faithfully follow the legal rules, regulations, policies,
Regulations, policies,
and procedures of the Dunwoody Police Department in the city of Dunwoody, Georgia.
procedures of the Dunwoody Police Department in the city of Dunwoody, Georgia.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Yeah, if you have you want to do individual, if y'all can bring up your families, I might get out of the way. Predecessor used to say, you have entered the finest community in the state, and the residents are incredibly grateful that you have chosen us to serve. Could not be prouder to have sworn in 4 new officers tonight, and any one of us up here will do anything you need. So just reach out if there's anything you need. And we're very excited. And again, so grateful that you've chosen Dunwoody to be your home. And I think you'll find that this community is just wonderful. So I'm so glad you're here. So thank you very much. And congratulations and welcome to Dunwoody. Oh, and all the officers who came tonight, we continue to be incredibly appreciative of your service to our fine community. Thank you. Consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions on any items?
Move to approve.
Second. I don't think there's any.
Jonathan is here.
Oh, Jonathan is here. I did see him. We can recognize Jonathan Sangster, who continues on the Dunwoody Development Authority. We appreciate your great work. Oh, and John, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just looking at the development of, I'm sorry, the Discover Dunwoody Board Resolution. It basically doesn't even mention those words in the resolution.
Oh.
In the sense of the name, the name currently shows on the ordinance, the Convention and Visitors Bureau of Dunwoody. Is there a issue between the two?
The question is it, I guess, the resolution still calls it the CBB. Oh, the mic.
Okay, so in other words, what is in the resolution is still correct. It's
That's
just
what
that
I'm saying.
the
Based on-
heading shows Discover Dunwoody all over it, but the ordinance doesn't, or the resolution doesn't mention Discover Dunwoody. It mentions the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay. And it
I
is,
presume they're still the Dunwoody CBB that does doing business as Discover Dunwoody. Does that sound right, Jay?
I am unsure on that specifically, but
Okay.
we'll check into it.
Okay.
I looked at their website looking for that type of information. I also noticed that their website hasn't been updated for their minutes in about a year. So just
Okay.
FYI. So thanks. If it's legal, it's good. Thank you.
And we'll check that, as Jay said.
Okay. Any other questions? Bye, Mayor. Any other questions? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda passes.
Moving to the first item under business items. An ordinance to amend Dunwoody, Georgia Charter Article 2, Section 2.13 prohibitions. City Attorney.
Madam Mayor and Council, this comes from Mr. Linton, but I guess it's now me. But this is a second read of a charter amendment, section 2.13A4 prohibitions, which would authorize, it says the following: city seeks to amend the charter prohibitions by permitting certain gifts or donations without limitations from individuals, charities, and benevolent or philanthropic organizations. One, to provide aid in support of law enforcement, or number two, to provide aid in support of city personnel facing hardships due to a serious health condition of the employee or immediate family member defined as spouse, child, or parent. This is a second read, Madam Mayor. If I will say this, during one of the prior reads, I think it was asked what's going to implement this, and the city manager has come up with a policy that will go in employee handbooks. I got to remind everybody, this doesn't apply to city council or mayor. It only applies to employees, but the city manager's policy is going to read this way: under gifts and favors in the handbook, which all personnel will sign off on, no employee shall accept any gift, donation, gratuity, service, loan, object, promise, or anything of value exceeding $100 without reporting same to the internal auditor via email. And there's an email set up just for these reports. Said reports shall be subject to public disclosure without exemption. Obviously, we will not obtain HIPAA information. We just want who gave you what if it's above $100. And notwithstanding anything herein to the contrary, employees shall not accept anything of value that violates ethic rules, local ordinances, policies, or charter provisions, state or federal laws, creates a conflict of interest, or could be reasonably considered to influence the employee in the discharge of official duties. So that will be the policy that Eric will disseminate via employee's handbook if you adopt this charter amendment tonight. And it is an action item, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tom.
Second.
Second by Joe. Is there any discussion? Questions? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself
Okay.
for item number 9.
Thank you.
Moving to the second read of item number 9, an ordinance to amend Dunwoody, Georgia Charter Article 2, Section 2.13E prohibitions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Right. She's out there. She's coming.
Item number 10, an ordinance to amend Chapter 6 of the City of Dunwoody Code of Ordinances to restrict the unlicensed sale of dogs, cats, or domestic rabbits.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. This is the first read to a text amendment to Chapter 6, which is the Animal Control Ordinance of the City of Dunwoody. This is regarding transient pet sales of dogs, cats, and domestic rabbits. So transient sales of dogs, cats, and rabbits are an ongoing concern for a long time. You may have heard it under terms such as puppy mills, backyard breeders with concerns about the welfare of animals, or in the discussion around the animal shelters that are overflowing and so forth. These are generally roadside or parking lot sales, unregulated and evading oversight of USDA and the Georgia Department of Agriculture that controls some types of breeding activities, especially the more commercial ones. Let me see, something is moving my screen here. All right, then let's give us a second to get that resolved. And it is sort of presently to continue where I lost track. To continue, it is currently happening that several of our surrounding communities are adopting similar regulation to what's before you all today. Roswell and DeKalb County have in the last 2 months adopted similar regulations. Other municipalities have these in place. That includes Athens, Clark County, Forsyth County, Douglas County, and others are considering it as well. The fear we have is spillover into Dunwoody. Is inherently a very mobile type of activity, and the next image shows this. That can easily go between municipal borders, and we don't want to become sort of a destination for this more than we are. The image here shows this type of activity that we're talking about. This is sort of roadside dog sales at the gas station on North Peachtree Road, right here in Dunwoody. So it's easy to set up, easy to take down, and easy to move. Proposed regulations, if adopted, would prohibit informal sale and advertisement of sale. This is important, so people don't have to, or the police or code enforcement don't have to observe the sale. It's by offering these animals for sale. The ordinance applies in sort of informal locations, not informal business locations, but on parking lots, at roadsides, or flea markets. This is easier to enforce from a code enforcement standpoint, like our department does. Some things are relatively easy to enforce. This one is, because people can see that there are these pets for sale in a location that's an informal location, and therefore it is legal under this ordinance. This does not impact the formal, like, pet sale business. This does not impact retail locations. It does not prohibit sales at the premises of breeders. It does not include sales at something like a county fair or similar. And it does not impact, you have a specific exemption here for sales at the parking lot at the police station or here at City Hall, where we want people to do transactions in a safe manner, because people may be afraid of inviting other people to their home location or their breeding location. What we're hoping that this ordinance does, it pushes this sort of industry a bit more into the open by taking a common avenue and the easy avenue off the table, and making it easier for law enforcement to go after this activity. The benefit to buyers is, if they buy an animal, a pet, from a breeder instead of a location like this, from a registered breeder, is that it's vaccinated, it's immunized, and there are sort of certain standards that are met. And then from an animal welfare perspective is that registered breeders have minimum welfare standards that have to be met, compared to the abuses that sometimes happen in these informal breeding environments. And again, this is the first read of this ordinance, and a second read will take place on December 9th.
All right, does anybody have any questions on this? Go ahead, Rob. No, go ahead.
So I had two questions. One is, I guess, just an observation. It sounds like this is more preemptive rather than in response to something we've actually seen in the city. Is that correct?
Well,
It's a reaction to more municipalities doing similar ordinances and not wanting to become a destination.
And then the second question I have is actually, this is just for cats, dogs, and rabbits. Are we not worried about other animals? Should we say live animals instead, or something else to be a little bit more inclusive? What if I like to sell turtles or ferrets by the side of the road?
So, and this is sort of modeled after language that was introduced to the state legislature last year. So it's the same language that applies in DeKalb County. That is like regarding to those three species, because that's the most commonly kind of sold ones in that type of location. It could be other species could be added.
I just wonder if we're making the change, if we want to try to be more encompassing, is the smart thought.
go ahead, Catherine.
Let's forward this with more animals. Would you want, can you see the need for updating this in the near future?
Certainly, I mean, that would be an easy change to make if we find additional species of animals that where this takes place. We could certainly add additional species.
Would you be interested in doing that in the offshoot or right now?
I mean, the question is sort of, would you all be interested in doing it?
Right.
And yeah.
Yes, so if we could say animals and cover animals.
We should say live, because what if?
Okay, that's
what-
right.
Live
Well,
animals.
what if-
I know. Right.
Okay.
I think you should say dogs, cat, rabbits, and other live animals, as opposed, I think needs to be clear on the three that are the most commonly sold. On the other ones, I don't know. Right, if you're gonna change it. Joe.
Do you, I was like saying whatever, who else? So you mentioned DeKalb, Ethnic Collection County, and Roswell have done this. So we're modeling we're looking at their code, what that stated. I saw that Roswell's code in the, there. Let me ask you on a very related question though. In 2017, Sandy Springs banned the outright sale of cats and dogs, even from pet stores. I don't know if you've inventoried as part of this, just doing some research. Off the top of my head, I don't believe, I'm not in the market, but I don't believe we have retail
We
sales.
do, we have a pet store across the street at
Of it.
Walmart.
Oh,
Well,
so-
near the former Walmart.
I don't go over there. So, you know, I would like to open up the conversation here. You know, Sandy Springs banned the sale of all cats and dogs from pet stores at all, and it's encouraging adoptions, because we know the rescues and the euthanasia of pets and the atrocities that are coming to these lovely creatures, that they have to be put down because we have so many of them on our running around and so on, and the overflowing of these shelters at the county level. So 2017, Sandy Springs banned the sale of dogs and cats at pet stores. And the city of Canton did it, Woodstock did it. Probably some other places have done it since then. So I think this is just, I'm offering this a conversation here to the folks sitting up here in the dais to see if you have any suggestions of asking staff to do a little bit more research on that as well.
Yeah, I think we could compile some information about that and bring it to the retreat, which is just in 3 months or 4 months, whenever it is. It can go on the retreat agenda. Go ahead, Stacy.
So I had a question about enforcement, because I was, like you said, it's pretty easily enforced. Do you know that, like, the date and time when that picture was taken for the presentation, or like
I
day,
do.
not date, but day?
yeah.
It was a Saturday.
Okay, so
The
so with
police,
the enforcement, I understand that now we have to educate our public, because code enforcement doesn't work on Saturdays. So now we have to educate our public that their answer to seeing a puppy being sold is to call 911 and get a police officer out there.
Correct, yeah. So that we have an inclusive list of agencies in there that includes DeKalb County has animal control officers. that could also enforce this ordinance would fall to the police in many instances, and code enforcement is referenced as well.
Right. So I guess when we talk about, I mean, because I read that, I was like, yes, it does cover everybody. Now we just have to educate our public that what to do when they see the puppy stand, that they did look cute beside the Dunkin' Donuts, but thank you.
John.
Yeah, thank you. Let's look at the, I want to sell you a dog. Okay, so now it's a personal transaction. Explain to me the process. I'm guessing that I have to come here to City Hall, to a police department. Explain the process.
So if it's a transaction that's preemptively arranged between us, let's say we talked at City Hall, and this can take place anywhere. And this is specifically excluded in this ordinance too. This is one of the exclusions to this. So if it's just residents deciding to transfer a pet from one resident to the other, that's exempt by this ordinance. It's the making it for sale at a public location that is prohibited by this.
I just want to make sure that I'm reading that right then, because I read that you have to come to the police department. Maybe I'm wrong.
Again, just following up with John's question here, what if somebody goes on Facebook Marketplace, and they don't know each other, but then they do a Facebook message, oh, I know them, so it's a predetermined sale, and is that, are they getting?
So
that means? It's
Prearranged.
already
Hold on,
prearranged.
let's let Paul interpret the question.
So the okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the we'll do another read, kind of like to the second, or we'll do another we do another bit of digging sort of into this.
So that's going to be
how it
modified to where
applies to- yeah.
private transactions can take place prearranged, and it does not have to be at a police department.
Yeah, that needs to be possible in.
I'd like that to be modified because I
Yeah.
think that's a mistake.
Yeah, so we'll adjust the language to accommodate this.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you also. I brought this up like 6 weeks ago when I saw an article that Roswell had adopted it, because our experiences with things like this have pretty consistently been that when a city near us bans something, like Sandy Springs and the party houses, within 60 days, we had a party house. And then just coincidentally, like 3 weeks ago, my friend sent me a picture, the picture from North Peachtree. She's like, this is gross. Is it allowed? And so it was just a coincidence, but I don't know for sure that it was a coincidence, because DeKalb has now banned it and Roswell has banned it. And Sandy Springs, if they have a ban on selling animals, has effectively banned it, I guess. So thank you. You'll make those changes. All right, we'll see you again in a few weeks. That's fine. Just let us know when you're ready.
Moving to item number 11, a resolution of the city of Dunwoody, Georgia, the city authorizing participation in an amicus brief in the Chang versus City of Milton appeal.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this over to Ken.
Madam Mayor, so all the, I say all the cities, there's probably 30-something cities that have been asked to join this. What's happened is there was an accident in Milton, Georgia, not caused by any obstruction off of the right of way, but the person apparently spun, and as they lost control, they hit an object that was off the road. Had been a planter there since 1992. Somehow that case was allowed to proceed despite sovereign immunity and other issues, which I don't know all the details of that part of it. But there was a $35 million verdict. It's on appeal to the higher levels. And the issue that Milton has asked us, Eric talked to the city manager. I have spoken through text because I know the attorney that's handling this, that cities join in their brief, amicus curiae brief, which is friends of the court, to support the city's position that liability is not what the case law suggests, and that it would bankrupt cities effectively if they had these kind of judgments. I've read the resolution. We didn't draft it. Eric didn't draft it. It's a standard resolution that's been going around to all the cities. I think is fine. I think y'all support for this. You will feel this case one way or the other. Either you will feel it through GERMA's insurance rates because they cannot insure this satisfactorily statewide, or you will feel it through liability through your own insurance, not only premiums, but what your exposure is. And I mentioned sovereign immunity because my first question was, with sovereign immunity, how did this happen? There's more complexity to the case, but essentially the fixed obstruction had been off the road. It had been a planter that had been there for years and it did not cause the accident. But they allowed the city to stay in the case and then they got a jury verdict for $35 million. So you're being asked to allow our name to be attached to their brief in support of the city's position. All of the cities are being asked. I think there's a list going around. The mayor may know more, but it's at least 30-something cities in the metro area have joined in, and there may be more statewide before it's over with. If there's any questions, I'm glad to answer the question.
John.
Thank you for your briefing. The document in front of us is limited in scope. Ken, can you tell us what does we, City of Dunwoody, giving a Friends of the Court brief, how do we change the mind of the Georgia Supreme Court? What is this going to do?
Well, I think it's going to say that this is not an isolated situation, that this affects all cities. And the dangers to the cities, like I said, with no disrespect to the party that got harmed, however they got harmed, it's this financially would ruin cities. Many cities don't have $35 million budgets. And I can promise you GERMA can't afford to insure it. But remember that spread of that liability, you're going to pay one way or another. So you have a financial interest in this, not that you're paying the $35 million judgment, but if GERMA pays any part of it and you're a member, you're paying part of it. I will say we have a secondary problem in Georgia. The quality of available insurance for government is shrinking because people are fleeing this area because of things like this, despite sovereign immunity, because there's some unique ways around sovereign immunity in certain circumstances. I don't know the particulars on Milton as far as how they got around that. But I would say that you're just lending your name to say, I'm very concerned about this being upheld and becoming the case law, because now, and Michael Smith's here, he can tell you, we will have to go in the right of way and be looking for stuff that y'all probably can't afford to deal with.
That's exactly where I was going with this. This is where I was trying to understand. So there's a planter in the right of way outside the travel lanes. So I'm very sorry that somebody got injured. I'm sorry that somebody passed. I'm sorry that this accident happened. I'm also sorry that there's a $35 million, damages being awarded, which seems like out of place. It almost seems asinine to me to a certain extent. If you were to take this same document and change the word planter and put mailbox, or instead of planter, put street light, those are items that are in the right of way outside the travel lanes. And I'm sorry somebody got into an accident, but those things were in place prior to cityhood. So if the Supreme Court of Georgia withstands this action and there's a $35 million penalty for having a planter just off the roadway, does that mean that there could be a possibility of a $35 million levy against every US mailbox that's right there outside the curb? I mean, they're all right, they're in the right of way. Mr. Smith, I think, is nodding that everything is in the right of way, and that could be subject to some sort of lawsuit like this. I think it's asinine. I'm sorry that I feel strongly about this. It's outside of the realm of my understanding. So I wholeheartedly agree that we should approve this tonight. And if the actions go the wrong way, maybe we need to start outlawing mailboxes and street lights and everything else in the city right of way that's outside the travel lanes. I don't understand how this is possible. And this is just based on my little bit of knowledge. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't understand how this is any different from the other jurisdictional aspects of what's in the right of way and immovable objects, trees, things of that nature. Do we need to clear all that? Otherwise, the city's liable. There's got to be some reasonableness to this, and I don't understand it based on the facts that are being presented here today.
All right, this is an action item.
Move-
Moved by John,
Second,
second by Joe. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Thank y'all very much. We will get that to them. Chief Carlson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In your agenda packet, I have a memo in there that speaks about the Georgia General Assembly passing House Bill 451, which is also known as the Ashley Wilson Act. Basically, they are requiring jurisdictions to adopt this supplemental benefit program for first responders diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder that is a result of exposure to line of duty traumatic events. HR Director Nicole Stoika did some research on this. She looked out and not many, well, actually there's only one. She received one quote from MetLife last week for the annual premium to be $8,584. The paperwork provided resolution, they're saying December 1st. I believe it was just pushed back to December 15th. But the law goes into effect on January 1, so it's being presented to all of you for adoption.
move to approve.
Moved by Joe,
Okay,
second by John. Any questions or discussion?
quick question.
Go ahead.
So we have already budgeted this in the 2025 budget, an estimate of what this was going to cost, correct?
I don't know, it's $8,000.
It's a small
it'll be
dollar, but I
covered with
remember
it.
it coming up in the discussions.
Okay.
Yeah, it's smaller. We'll be able to
Yeah,
cover it.
but I mean, I think we already anticipate, what I'm trying to say is we already anticipated that we would need to do this, so.
Correct.
It's, I think I have to sign a contract. I think that's why.
No, the only reason it had to come before you was we needed a resolution for this one
Okay.
for some reason.
And this is not optional anyway,
Correct.
so it's not optional. All right, we voted already? We did not. No, okay. Okay, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening. This agenda item is for a project agreement with the Perimeter CID to allocate responsibilities and cost sharing between the two entities for the Ashford Dunwoody Trail Phase 2. The Phase 2 is part of a larger effort to provide high-quality bicycle and pedestrian connections within Perimeter and to other surrounding areas. The underlying map you see here is from the Trail Master Plan, and Ashford Dunwoody Phase 1 was been recently completed in front of the mall. This is Phase 2, which would go from the mall up to Ashford Center Parkway. And then we have plans underway. We're working on projects to connect that to the village and then also to Georgetown to the east. And then some infill segments working our way over towards Path 400. Zooming in on Ashford Dunwoody, the phase that was recently completed in front of the mall is a two-way cycle track and sidewalk on the west side of Ashford Dunwoody Road. Phase 2 includes extending that two-way cycle track up to Perimeter Center North, the Terraces intersection. And then from there, it would become a one-way cycle track on both sides of the road. That's similar to what is in front of Publix on that section now. This just shows a kind of an on the ground view. The one-way cycle track on both sides is a 6-foot cycle track minimum width and then an 8-foot sidewalk on both sides of the road. The right of way
part of the project that's in the agreement is the plan is to go ahead and start talking to all 15 property owners that we need right away and easements from between Perimeter Center West and Ashford Center Parkway. Those are the red and green dots shown. The green dots are the 4 parcels up to Meadow Lane that the agreement includes funding to actually acquire the right of way. The CID is going to take the lead on acquiring the right of way, and their first approach is going to be to seek donations. That's historically what they've asked their board members particularly to do is donate for projects like this. So that will be the first approach, but if for some reason that's not obtainable, the agreement in front of you does include funding for acquiring those 4 parcels up to Meadow Lane, which if we completed that and built that, that would complete the cycle track on the west side of Ashford Dunwoody from Perimeter Center West up to Ashwood Parkway. The funding in the agreement, it's for right of way and construction is proposed as a split, an even split between the CID and the city. And as I mentioned, the plans are developed to a point where we're ready to acquire the right of way, and we will approach all 15 property owners trying to secure that right of way. And then depending on how long that takes and where that goes, we'll look at how to phase the construction. But the agreement in front of you includes funding for at least the section up to Meadow Lane that would connect to what's already in front of Publix. And I'll answer any questions at this point.
I'm going to recognize Ann Hamlin, Executive Director of the PCID back there, if you need to add anything. And Dunwoody resident, of course. Yeah. And questions, Catherine?
For the one-way cycle track, is it blockaded? Is there a curb to separate?
Yeah, it's separated from the roadway and it's up at sidewalk level. So there's a buffer. It says here it varies depending on utilities and how much room we have, but it varies anywhere from 3 to, I think, 6 feet, I think.
Okay, thank you.
John?
Michael, can you tell us anything changes for the medians? There's a bunch of trees, there's greenery, anything being removed, reduced, any beauty going away?
There will be trees that have to be removed on the shoulder where these are going. And then there's a landscape plan to replace those. Nothing's happening in the median. The medians remain untouched. In fact, we will be, to make more room on the shoulder, we're going to move the curb in. There's kind of an extra bit of pavement, 4 feet, that we're going to take away and move the curb in to get more room on the shoulder. But the medians are
staying
untouched.
Okay. Thank you.
Joe?
Thank you, Michael. I thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Ann, and the CID as well. Tom, myself, and Rob attended the CID meeting last week, and we just wanted to thank them for their support. I know there's the engineering and the legal folks, but it's that map with all the right-of-way projects. It's just properties. It's like, let's just kind of keep the conversation moving. People transfer. They change roles in corporations. It's just keeping that list of names, folks, available and keeping us going on that. And it's really appreciated, even though we're looking at that southern segment first. Yeah, thank you very much for putting it together.
Thank you. This is critically important to the marketing of Perimeter in a very, very, very competitive office market. And so I can't wait for this to get on it. So thank you.
Okay, and as far as next steps go, so the CID, this board discussed it last week, but they had some key board members out of town, so they're going to vote on it at their next meeting, which is at the end of January. So we will plan to bring this back in January, close to their meeting time, just to stay on the same kind of schedule.
Okay, and I'm sure this can be consent. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was just wanted to reiterate one thing is that the money is actually coming from the hotel and motel funds that has been
Right.
fully budgeted. All hotel motel money that it's coming from. I just wanted to make sure that that was being said.
I was getting ready to ask that question, so there you go.
That's correct.
Right, yeah, okay. All right, so I think this can be consent whenever, unless something changes with the CID. Thank you, Anne, thank you, Michael, very exciting. Michelle, I can't see, there's a post if you sit, oh, there she is. There's a post, I have very narrow vision.
That's race first on my list, so I have the next two items. So good evening, Mayor and Council. Share, okay. Okay, so the first item that I have on the agenda with you guys today is the ESRI renewal. So ESRI is the Environmental Systems Research Institute. It handles all of our GIS, the Geographical Information Systems. It integrates with CityWorks, Central Square, all of our major applications. It's the smart map that the citizens use on the website and everything like that. It is the standard in the GIS community. And I'm requesting the renewal of a 3-year contract with ESRI for $44,310 a year. The overall 3-year cost is $132,930. And so,
Any questions, Stacy?
what was the percentage increase from our previous agreement with them? I do not have that
You
on
get
me
it
right now. It wasn't a whole lot. It went up. It did go up a little bit, but it was not a whole lot. It was within what we were expecting to see.
John?
Yeah, this is standard GIS software. This is the industry standard. It's the gold standard. And kudos to the city's GIS department for the tools that they make publicly available. I think it's almost time for an update. I know we just had some resolution to look at our GIS manager. I think we brought them in-house, and I'd love to have the GIS, okay, maybe whatever happened. I'd love to have the GIS come and give great information to the public about what we do. There's so many maps available and information that should be pushed out to our residents because again, we do a lot of work and I think we should highlight that from time to time. So thank you.
Definitely.
That's easy. Like with floodplain changes, does that does ESRI responsible for that?
We do have additional like add-ons
Okay.
that we use
Okay.
for things like that.
Okay. Anybody else? Is this okay for consent? You can email the percent change if you want. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then y'all are stuck with me for the next one.
That's
too.
okay. We're making great progress.
So the next item.
It's in there.
I know. Okay, so the next item that I have on the agenda is for a migration to the cloud for Central Square, the police department applications at this point. It is our only remaining mission critical user application system that is still on-prem. And on-prem is essentially where we have it up here in a server room. And so every time we have to do maintenance, every time that we have to update the servers, every time that we have to do anything, the police department systems are currently the only ones that go down. We'd kind of put off doing the police department. They were our last one, and that was on purpose because they are mission critical and it is such an important system that we wanted to make sure that we did everything right and that we knew what we were getting into before we actually made the change. So we were kind of testing the waters, if you will, with the other applications, but now we're ready to go ahead and move the Central Square, the police department applications over. So for that, for the cost, it is if we were to stay local. So if we kept it in the server room and we did not change anything, our cost next year in 2025 would be $100,956. And then we also have to pay for an additional VPN connectivity so that the police department can actually reach our our on-prem service. So that's an additional $23,000.
So if we don't change anything right now, it would cost us $123,956 in 2025. If we migrate to the cloud, the application suite would cost us $122,794. There's one-time implementation costs that they've knocked down to $10,000 for the whole thing. So the entire total is $132,795.59. So it is $10,000 over, roughly $8,000 over what we would pay in 2025 if we stayed on-prem, but we're getting a lot out of that. And then after that, the contract states that it would be the regular 5% increase that we see every year with Central Square beyond that first year.
Thank you, Ginger, she approached the deputy chief and I, and we spoke about it. And as she stated, yes, when the systems are down, we do not have access to it. So moving it to the cloud would make sure that, we are mission critical, real-time crime center, so we don't want our applications to go down. So I think the cloud would be beneficial to the department.
So, I had a question for Eric and Jay, which was why in the world, this is very much an administrative decision, but it's the amount that is the reason we have to approve it, just in case anybody else was curious. Like me, it's the amount of money, it's the contract. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm assuming going forward, when we don't have the implementation fee, it'll be pretty much a wash compared to what we would pay.
Correct.
And
It's
so
actually a slightly better, like just this much better.
essentially the same, but we get
Yeah.
a better product is kind of what I'm getting
100%.
at. All
We
right,
don't have to buy servers. We don't have to worry about, the additional manpower.
sounds good. Thanks.
Joe?
Got some miscellaneous questions. So I went back and I was putting my old hat on, day job, reading SOWs and stuff, but fun stuff. Is it the same function? So I know the cloud's on-prem things, they're hard to upgrade and they usually they're clunkier, they don't have a better user interface. Are we getting some, aside from the technical benefits, are we getting functional benefits as well? Are there new features and functions, ease of use, better reporting?
No, so this is absolutely 100% the exact same system. It's just where it's being managed and housed is in a different environment versus ours. So we get an added redundancy piece. We get, those types of additions. And then we would still pick, because we still have to stay in line with what Chatcom has for their levels, for the version. And so we're not able to really change what version that we're on until Chatcom updates theirs.
So from an end user perspective, they would be just same, it's just a different click on this different URL or whatever, it's really just the front end is the same, basically?
Correct. The
same
only
function?
thing that the
Okay.
end users would see differently is just they won't go down when we're doing maintenance anymore.
Right. Yeah. It didn't talk about the timeline of this, how long it would take. I really just, and making sure, it mentions that, there's city designated project manager. Who, are you going to be the PM there? So
Yes.
do you need additional staff time? Do we need any additional resourcing to help with this upgrade from existing staff?
No, I appreciate that, but we're good as far as staffing goes.
That's what I've seen, it's a big issue of making sure that we have staffing resources. So if we do need it, Jay, please feel free to bring it up to council if you need additional staffing to help this. Do you know what the timeline is on?
They said that they could probably do it in about 3 months.
Wow.
So
Wow,
I'm
that's
guessing
amazing.
more like 6, but
Yeah, I know, that's amazing. That's amazing. We're not responsible for any third-party integrations. Everything's in the contract.
Correct.
Everything there. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, great. All right. Well, thank you.
Consent?
Yes.
Okay. You bring this back in 2 weeks, Ginger, is that the plan? Both?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Public comments? See no one. City manager comments,
No comments and no need for an executive session.
council comments? Catherine?
I would like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
I want to congratulate, well, first of all, Light Up Dunwoody a week ago, this past Sunday was great. Last night, Create Dunwoody and the Village Merchants no, it's not association, Alliance, they changed their name, put on an event, called the Village Holiday Celebration, and it was fantastic. It felt like all of Dunwoody was there, or at least half of Dunwoody. It was really great. It showed that there's a lot of demand for fun, family oriented, or just adults. There were a lot of adults there, and we had our first lantern parade, and I don't know exactly, but I think there were at least 150 participants. It was really good. So I'm very grateful to the organizations that do all this for us, DHA, Create Dunwoody. And then December 1st is because we are busy getting lit in Dunwoody. Okay, we have, right, December 1st, is our own holiday lights at Brook Run Park. I think it's at 6 o'clock is the official turning it on. It starts a little earlier than that. Everyone is invited to that, and I hope everyone has a really happy Thanksgiving. Unless there's anything, I need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Rob, second by Stacy. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, we are done.